Hi, my name is Nathan Kievman, and I am the CEO of Link Strategies, and I'm here to share with you today a very special topic, a topic that's really close to my heart on how to connect your inspiring story with your exact target market. And I really love this topic because it really begs a lot of questions and it makes us really have to think about what is our inspiring story? How do we figure out what our inspiring story is? Who's our story inspiring? Right? These sorts of questions. And so, what I want to talk about today is a couple of topics, which is what makes a truly inspiring story? How do we get to that point? And how do we understand the psychology of our target market, our potential buyer, the person we're looking to inspire, and understand how that plays into our storyline, right? And so let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Hopefully this is valuable to you. You walk away with this with a very powerful understanding of how to write your own inspiring story, how to understand the psychology of the market that you're writing the story for, and then ultimately, how do we engage and connect that story with the market itself as it exists in this amazing digital universe that we live in today. And so let's begin. Okay. So the first topic I wanted to cover today is what is my inspiring story all about, right? And I guess before I can actually get into that topic, we have to really understand the psychology of our market, the mindset, the belief system, the persona type of the individual that we're looking to engage. So if we don't know that, then we're just writing a story for anybody. It could be anyone's story. And we want to make sure that ours is particular to the target market that we're trying to engage and to talk to them in the way that they want to be heard. And so one of the things that in our business and Link Strategies, we specialize in executive to executive engagement. That's kind of our thing, our specialty. And to do that, you have to understand that there's a psychology of executives in our case, and yours might be slightly different. I'll talk about executives. And understanding this psychology, understanding the things that they care about, the topics that make sense to them, what I find often is in our clients that we work with is that their message is talking to directors or talking to VPs, but not to the executives. So the language, the product offering, the way they speak about their value proposition in the market, all of these things are talking to the wrong person, meaning that they can't even get their story, their value proposition, the inspiring reason that their business is in place to bring value to the world in some way, some great kind of method that they've figured out in their service, their software, their solution, whatever it might be. And the executives can't hear it because they're not speaking their language, right? This is a big gap. This is a big challenge that I see a lot of organizations deal with, from big companies in the multi-billion-dollar range all the way down to startups, and all of those are clients of ours. And when we are interacting with these organizations at the different levels, you have all these different silos of people trying to play into the storyline, the value proposition of the product, or the value proposition from the marketing message, or the sales team, the way they express their value to the market. If those aren't all in sync, then we're going to have a great deal of challenge. And so we need to really understand, first and foremost, who is our exact target market, right? Once we know it, and then get into the rest. And so let's talk about your exact target market. What is the psychology of it? Are they a title? Is it a CEO? Is it a CIO? Is it a head of HR? Is it, whatever that might be? So what are the things that move them, right? At the executive level space, those are individuals or business owners. These are individuals that are very busy. You got to put yourself in their shoes. And the things that I like to do is I like to put myself in their shoes and say, if I got this message, would I resonate to it, right? And this is a little counterintuitive, and most people don't really think this through very well, and they think shorter is better. They think things that are not data proven. And what I really want you to do is get into the thought process of how, like executives, for example, they're decision makers. They need enough information to make a decision. So long copy is actually better for them. There's certain types of C-suite executives, like heads of sales, that would prefer shorter copy over like CEOs, for example. right? Or communication or length of messaging or whatever it might be. But nonetheless, this is the persona type of each individual. So you don't necessarily want to write a message to a CEO and a CRO and then a CHRO that's all the same. They all have to be very uniquely different because they're different markets. So let's presume we have one exact target market. What are the things that we have to do? We have to put ourselves in their shoes. We have to see, how do they experience time? How do they experience money? How do they experience risk? Right? So like, let's just take risk as an example. A CEO is typically going to be a bigger risk taker, although they want proven and reasonable risks. They'll take them. But whereas like a director or a VP might not do that, they might be more focused on their job security is their tolerance for risk, meaning that I'll go only so far, but if I take any more risk than that, then my job's at risk, so I won't do that, and I come back down. So think of who you're writing to and what you're writing about and what they're thinking about on a daily basis. Then let's think about other categories, right? So more risk averse people might be in like the heads of HR or the CIOs or the engineers that are going to be more analytical in nature, want to know everything there is to know about things. Like, got to get into that psychology and really understand what this market is all about. And then once we now know this market, we want to know what moves them, what inspires them, what drives them, what are they passionate about, right? What are the things that really get into their soul? And these are more of the aspirational aspects of writing and of putting our story out there. And so what people want to know is about a transformation. They want to know about you and the journey you went through. They don't know they want to know this. And usually it's not actually about you. It's about how that story, how this inspiring story led you to an aha moment that then was revealing on something that was very transformational that they can then garner from, right? Or they want to have the ability to align with you in a cause or a mission. The reason that, Simon Sinek was able to get so much engagement with his speech on why, on what's your why, is because why resonates. Why resonates to the soul. It resonates to the person, the higher self of everybody out there. So one of my favorite words is the word called resonance. Now, resonance, the reason it's one of my favorite words is because if you can create a story that creates the resonance, that vibrational alignment between someone that's reading your message or hearing your message and what you're saying, now you're going to create that resonance. So hopefully, like with some of you, I'm resonating right now. And you're like, yes, I feel that, I hear that, I believe that, I'm with you. I'm on the same page. I understand where you're going, right? That's fantastic. So what we need to do is we write out our story and we talk about this inspiring story, which is, where I was, right? Where did I grow up? Where was my home? Where did I live? Give them some context of who you are as a being in this physical universe, and then we talk about something that we can align to, and then we talk about the hardship that we went through, whatever that might look like. And as we're going through this, then we say we then talk about what we overcame, right? So this the story of alignment. What was the big challenge that was overcome? And then what was the big aha moment or the insight that came from this hardship that is your lesson, your inspiration that you want to share with everybody, right? Or it could be a slightly different one, which is somebody else's story that you're talking about. If you don't have that story, then use a third party. Use somebody else's story. We do this all the time with our clients, where we'll say, who's your greatest top 3 role models of all time? Like, who are the people that you look up to the most? Well, let's talk about them. Let's talk about their story, and let's talk about the same journey and what was the big revelation, and then how does that correlate to what you offer today, right? Or what you're talking about today as an inspiration, right? We've talking about Sherpas that climb mountains to, Stephen Hawking's and his big breakthroughs in science and so many more, right? I think Mother Teresa was one of them. So like we have the ability to leverage other great stories that people already resonate to, and then leverage those into alignment with you or your brand or your offering or what it is you're trying to share with your exact target market, right? And so Once we have our story and now we know our target market, now what's next, right? Well, how do we connect? So we live in a digital universe that's second to none, right? I mean, the world we live in today has total access to everything we could ever want. Like, it's an unbelievable world that we live in today. So we have all of social media. We have the ability to post, to engage, to interact, to in-mail from LinkedIn, to connecting in groups on Facebook, or to doing Twitter or Instagram or whatever it is, the platform you're in. And the first thing I want to ask you, though, is this. Is your market there? Just think about this for a second. Is your market there? Does your market hang out in the place that we're talking about? Right? And what I really want you to think about that. And I want you to do a little exercise, which is I'd like you to write down who your target market is, and I'd like you to go interview 3 of them, okay? And ask them a bunch of questions about how they behave, where they hang out, what content do they read, what inspires them, those sorts of things. And do that at the very beginning before you write your story. Once you know who it is that you want to write your story to, it's much easier to write your story. And it's also better and easier to find out where they exist, where they hang out, what they do, how they behave, so that you know how to interact with them in a way that they will interact. That is how we do it. So there's 1,000 tools in the marketplace to scrape emails, to send emails, to connect socially, to automate socially, right? What I would just encourage you to do is to understand how to best connect with your exact target market is to interview them. Ask them some questions, right? If you don't have access to those individuals, find a friend that does and ask if we can do this together so we can both garner the information that needs to know the same people, right? When I started early in my consulting practice many years ago, I had come from a school with a pretty good alumni network. And so I started a early on podcast, or if you would, but I called it like Business Success Unlimited. I just made something up. And I just started interviewing my alumni. And because my alumni would say yes if I sent them a little note about a certain thing. And I was able to interview the head of sponsorship for Coca-Cola and the billionaire and the head of Crocs shoes and like all these really dynamic personality types. And it created a lot of leverage for me. And more than anything, I got to learn what was required for success in business. That was what I was interested in. And so I didn't have a network. I had no relationships. I leveraged the school's relationships with an alumni network to go create this and talk to these individuals. And it was great. And that was one of many examples. So hopefully this is helpful for you. So the big takeaways for today is to write your inspiring story, know your target market. Once you know your target market, you've identified it, interview those individuals. Once you've interviewed those individuals through either your own personal network or through a third-party network, then start to write out the inspiring story as we've kind of outlined today. And then once you have that, then use the social tools or the email tools or the scraping tools or whatever it is that you need to go start sending out those messages and start testing it and start getting engaged and interacting with your market at the very light level. You'll start to get some wins and you'll start to build some relationships. But I will say this, more than anything, take it slow and realize that this is not a game of volume. It's a game of quality relationships. Because relationships, if you build the relationships, they will build your business. So let that sit in. Hope this was valuable. I appreciate that you had the chance to listen to this. Hopefully I added some value to your experience today. Thank you very much. God bless.